And then here I am going from my freshman year of college to my junior year of college, and everyone's like, "Oh, like, I just came back from my internship and I got an offer and blah, blah, blah." And here I am, I've never had an internship before and never really got a lot of experience directly in my field. And it really becomes this unhealthy culture of comparing yourself to everyone. Um, and I really struggled with that a lot. It led me down lots of like slippery slopes. Oh, maybe I should just come back home. Maybe I should just enroll back in CSM and try again. Or maybe this isn't what I want to do. And it's just like really trying to tune out all of that, because when you struggle a lot for the first time, you jump to conclusions and you want to go home and be comfortable. And it's really taken a lot of toll on me, but it's also taught me that, because I'm uncomfortable, this is a good experience because I'll learn how to combat that. And so I think throughout my entire semester, I'd been struggling because I would like to say that I performed very decently at CSM. And here I am in this like very rigorous school struggling for the first time. And, I even took finance for a bit, and that like just like and it's hard because, I think for you, when you teach accounting, you use a lot of like real life, maybe a bit too real life experiences. And then you go over there and it's like, okay, come to class, take the test. You won't have homework, but if you do bad on all the tests, then I'm sorry, I can't really do anything for you. And it's like, I think really learning a bit more about myself as a student has been a game changer, but also figuring out like what I need to prioritize over other things. So next semester will be better. Don't worry.
Most people think that when you transfer from community college to your four-year university, the hardest thing is going to be the classes. But in my experience, the classes, they were definitely harder. But for me, it was everything else that was a huge adjustment. And I've really been wanting to have a conversation with somebody who just recently transferred to a four-year university. And I have found somebody willing to have that conversation. It is a former student of mine who goes to, I believe, the University of New York.
NYU, New York
New York University. So I'm super excited. I've got Yasmina Asfour with me. And before we get started, did I pronounce your last name correctly? Yeah, I don't think I've
Yes.
ever used your last name.
No, I don't think so, but that was good.
All right. Well, cool. Well, welcome. How are you? It's been a
Thank
while
you.
since I've seen you.
It's been a few months. I've been doing really well, actually. I've been in my adjustment period for some time just because, moving across the country isn't always the easiest. But I think now that my semester has just finished, I've been able to reflect a lot, and I'm really excited to like keep going. It's been a really good experience.
Nice. So just to give people some perspective, so you were in my classes in California at College of San
Hmm.
Mateo. And then you transferred to NYU. This has been your first semester. Before we like dive into, I'm trying to get some shit off of my screen. There we go. Before we kind of like
You're
dive
good.
into your experience at NYU, can we just sort of like do a brief, I don't know, summary of your time at CSM? Like, what was some of the things that like the biggest moments that you take away from CSM? Like, if you could just
Hmm.
dive into your experience at community
Hmm.
college first, I think that makes the most sense.
So in high school, we had a really lovely program called Middle College, where basically your district sends you to your local community college to take classes. You'll have your high school teachers there, and then all the other classes that you take are either for fun or towards your high school graduation requirements. And so, growing up in the Bay Area, it's so competitive academically. So I really wanted a taste of college, but also a way to set myself apart. And so I did middle college my junior and senior year of high school, applied to college, and I wasn't really happy with my results, so I decided to do another year at CSM straight out of my high school graduation, which is where I met you. I was studying business administration at CSM, which is where I took accounting 1 and 2, and then I transferred into NYU studying business technology management at the Tandon School of Engineering. So,
Nice. But did I just hear that you only went to community college for 1 year?
technically, yeah. So I transferred from freshman year to my junior year. So
So you went to CSM your 2 last years of high school through the program called middle school? Man, I've had a lot of you or
middle
sorry, middle
college.
college. I've had a lot of you in my classes throughout the years, and I didn't realize, but, like, I have another student that was just on this show actually, who she also is a product of that program and
Mhm.
only spent a year at CSM and is currently trying to
Yeah.
transfer out, so nice, very cool.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a really good program.
so, man, there's so much that I could get into about choosing to go to community college as opposed to a four-year university that you weren't totally excited about straight out of high school.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna leave that for a little bit later. What I would
Mhm.
really like to know is, like, leading into this first semester, right? So over the summer, like, what were the things that you were most anxious about?
For me, it was definitely money because you can't really move across the country without having a discussion with your family about, "Okay, how are we gonna pay for college? Um, if you're not gonna work your first semester, how are you going to budget with the money that you've made so far?" So that was definitely one of the biggest struggles of mine. And it's also like because the school is so expensive, you're really juggling, oh, should I just stay in state and go to a school that maybe I might not be so excited about, or maybe the program might not fit my interests, but it's cheaper. So that was definitely a conversation that I had to play back a bunch.
And what did those conversations look like? So there's obviously so my daughter and I had the same conversations. She goes to Northwestern, which is
Oh.
equally in fact, I wouldn't let her go to NYU. She got in she got accepted in.
She got in?
She got in, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna fucking pay for that."
Mhm,
But then we revisited the issue because she was so adamant about going to a school outside of California, and she wanted to go to a school
mhm,
with a really strong reputation. So we
mhm,
definitely had those conversations in our house, but I'm just wondering, like, from your perspective, how does that conversation look like with your parents? Was it something that created
mhm,
anxiety? Was it stressful? Were there arguments?
mhm. So, for me, I come from an Arab immigrant family, and within our culture, education has always been the number one thing, and, when I got into NYU, I got in a few days before the deadline to accept the UCs. So, I had 4 days to decide whether or not I would accept NYU, but then 2 days to decide whether or not I would accept my one of my UC offers. And so I think, when I talked to my mom about it, she was immediately supportive. I think that when looking at a school, I definitely factor in a lot of different things, not just reputation or money and stuff like that. And I always felt that NYU really aligned with what I had been interested in doing and the things that I wanted to achieve. And so right away, my mom was very supportive. So,
Very cool. Yeah, what
yeah, it was.
that
I was the paranoid one. She wasn't.
and what were you paranoid about? But
Well, for me, definitely loans. Both of my siblings, they went to community college, they went to CSM, and they transferred, debt-free, no money issues, and I was the youngest child, the runaway that wanted to go across the country and take on debt. So that definitely really scared me because it wasn't really something in my family that we had ever really gone through or something that we had to factor in when it came to money and stuff like that.
yeah. And so you're
Mhm.
so, like, I don't wanna go into stuff that you're not comfortable talking about, but so you are
Mhm.
taking out student loans for some portion of your experience.
Yes.
And
Yes.
just out of curiosity, did you spend any time thinking about, like, what your student loan payment would look like when you
Mhm.
graduate versus how much you would be
Mhm.
making? Like, did any of that
Mhm.
enter into your decision process?
Yeah. So I think when I wanted to transfer initially, I knew that regardless, I would have had to take on some sort of debt wherever I went,
Yeah.
just because like, college is very expensive. So I really chose a program that I felt could allow me to grow and also give me because some of the schools I got in for stuff like international business or, basic business administration, and I really wanted to focus on something more technical, like technology, data, stuff like that. So I definitely had to factor that in, but also I I'm a little crazy. I'm the crazy one in the family, and I feel like when I truly believe in myself and there's something that I really am passionate about, that's always a given.
Nice. Again, there's things in your answer that do wanna explore, but I sorta wanna stay on the, okay, we're really worried about traveling across the country. Money is
Mhm,
definitely one of the huge issues, and obviously the student loans is a big part of that. Are you comfortable talking about, like, how did it look like when you landed on campus? How did that first 30 days look? Like, was it the first time that you were managing your own money, or were you doing that at home? Like, h
mhm,
like, relative to what you were worried about, what was the experience like when you got to school?
mhm. So I had been working since I was 16, so I kind of had a little bit of taste of, my eras where I'd spent a lot of my money and expect that my money would come back. And then now I'm halfway across the world studying and having to manage all the money that I had saved up during all the time that I worked. And so I would say that the first 30 days were definitely freedom. I feel like as community college students, when you transfer, it's the first time that you're away from home and you don't have all these responsibilities. You don't have that job that you have to clock into. And you have this like superficial idea of I'm in my 20s, I'm in New York City, and you just want to be young and have fun. And I think the first 30 days was really just time for me to really explore who I am, who I want to be, who I want to surround myself with, and what kind of person that I wanted to set myself up for to be in college. And it's definitely trial and error. Obviously, you have to take care of yourself. You have to remind yourself to go eat, do your chores, responsibility. And so the first 30 days were very dreamlike. I would walk all over Manhattan with my friends and explore every single corner. And then once those 30 days hit, and I realized, "Hey, I'm actually transfer. I'm now a junior and I have to think about internships and I have to think about I need experience because experience gets me an internship, which gets me a job, which helps me pay off my debt." And I think after, like, that La La Land period ended, I became very worried and very anxious about my role in this school and opportunities because I think for community college students, we come in with this idea that, okay, we'll just go to community college, and then once we get to our 4 year, then we can start figuring everything else out. But when you transfer to school, they don't treat you like a first year. They don't treat you like a transfer. They treat you like the grade that you are. So if there are things that you're interested in trying, a lot of those are reserved for freshman, sophomore. And so that was really hard trying to find like where I could really be a beginner and learn things for the first time without being treated like, "Oh, you need to know everything at this point."
That's interesting. That is,
Mhm.
that is almost identical to my own experience. So
Mhm.
so so I really wanted to go into accounting, but I also really wanted to go to Cal, and so when I was
Mhm.
applying to Cal, they didn't have like an accounting degree. It was only the
Mhm.
business administration degree, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Damn, what like, fuck, what am I gonna do when I get there?" And I was like, "I don't know, I'm just probably gonna go into accounting," because that was
Mhm.
the goal. It was like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit," like, we have to have like, I need to know what I'm supposed to be doing next summer, and
Mhm.
I never even really thought about that, and I felt like I was one step behind everybody else, and that everybody else
Mhm.
had it figured out, and I sort of felt like I was playing catch up, not even just the 1st semester, but almost my entire 1st year of school. It's almost exactly what you're
Yeah.
articulating, and I have
Mhm.
other students who are going to other four-year universities that are, like, reaching out to me describing the same exact thing you're describing.
Yeah. Mhm. I tried to, there was this club that I was really interested in, and, they had, like, a beginner program, and they also had a more advanced program, and I was like, "Hey, like, I've never really tried this before, I'm really interested." I was wondering, like I really became a routine where I have to ask, "Is it okay if I do this because I am a junior?" And so that had been really frustrating because, um, I think when I was in community college, not only was I worried about my grades, I was worried about my transfer applications, I was worried about working full time. And so when you finally get that freedom to be like, I could do whatever I want, it's really hard because, by the time you reach your junior and senior year, you're kind of like, "Oh, you already know what you're doing." You already had your opportunities, but really you're a first year. So trying to find places that would let poor old Yasmina in was a bit of a struggle, but I did, and it had been a really good experience.
Do you feel like what you ended up in is, like, what is the was the only thing that was allowed to you? Or do you feel like you are exactly where you wanted to be and you weren't settling for anything?
For school
You
or, like,
just for the
activities?
clubs and the experiences you were looking for at NYU?
Mhm. So for my major is business technology, of course,
Yep,
but I found that I struggled with a bit of my coursework just because there wasn't a lot of technology. It was more like business conceptual type of classes, like organization, project, operation, stuff like that. And so I really struggled with, okay, if I want to study business technology, but I don't have a little bit that technology experience, and then all these roles that seem more creative, they want all these analytical programming types of skills. I really wanted to put myself in a place where I could learn those skills outside of my coursework. And so I ended up at my school's technology club, which had been a really amazing experience. And it was one of the only clubs that didn't really care whether you were senior or freshman, and they had different types of opportunities for beginners, intermediate, and maybe more advanced, or maybe people who want mentorship and stuff like that. And so I definitely think that it worked out in the end, but I've also gotten to the point where the things that I can't get out of my classes, my clubs, I have to get within the experience that I have myself
yep,
or find experience from people that I might know.
nice. So, before I go into the social world and then back to the money,
Mhm,
do you have any advice for somebody who is
mhm,
gonna transfer off to their four-year university and they're worried
mhm,
about the transition? Like, within the
mhm,
classroom, was there anything that you felt like really worked for you that somebody else could
mhm.
benefit from?
I think starting off when you're in community college, everyone always says, "Any experience is experience," but they never really specify what that might mean. I think for me, I would say that if you're working, I don't know, customer service or a food service job, you can build your own experience starting from there. For example, um, I was really interested in marketing for a bit, so I helped create an event and do promotions at my local like coffee shop. Or if you're interested in finance or accounting, maybe look at the POS system and be like, oh, like this thing is doing really well. And then based on like this information and like past, I think that I should push this out. So really like whatever you're working with, you can turn that and relate it back into what you're learning in school and really use that as experience. And then as long as you have really something that you're working with, a lot of these clubs and these recruiters are really interested to hear how you can creatively integrate what you're learning with career stuff. So I think it's really important to start out in community college because a lot of the opportunities that I've gotten so far was because I was able to turn something or nothing into something. And yeah, it's really important to start then go to college and be like, "Oh shoot, I didn't learn anything and now no one will accept me. No one will accept me into this club about whatever because I didn't do something 2 years ago. I didn't do something 10 years ago," and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's funny, I remember you
Mhm.
talking about your coffee shop experience before and
Yeah.
after
Mhm.
class, and it's kinda
Mhm.
cool to hear you say, "Yeah, the shit that I was doing at that coffee shop is actually paying dividends for me at
Yeah.
NYU." That's really cool. And I
Mhm. I also, yeah, I recommend, like, research. I did honors project at CSM, which also, like, really helped my applications, throughout, like, all my schools.
Yeah, nice. I just finished up 2 honors projects this last
Yeah,
semester.
those are good.
Yeah, that's huge. Very cool. I
Mhm.
like I like that. How about so I remember man, I was so ignorant going to Cal. Like, I was definitely worried about, whether I was gonna be able to survive in the classroom, but I also remember being worried about, "Man, am I gonna make friends? Like, how is that gonna look?" Like, I remember
Mhm.
really stressing about my social life and what it was gonna look like and not knowing anybody and being,
Mhm.
a transfer student as opposed to somebody who's already been going there. Was that something that you
Mhm.
worried about beforehand?
I would say a little bit yes, because, at first it sounds like the dream, I have all this freedom. No one knows who I am. I can really build myself up and really portray how I want to be portrayed. But then later you're like, wait, actually, no one knows me. And I'm living in this, we don't have a campus. We don't have football games or Greek life is there, but it's not like any other school. We don't have a sports culture or dining halls or residence halls are so spread out that you have to realize that you need to even put effort into keeping a friendship because it's really easy to get busy in New York. You're always doing something. You're always going somewhere, whether you're on your way to class, on the way to the subway, walking, whatever. And so I think after a period of time, you start to grasp onto anyone that you can because you're looking for that community that maybe you had back home.
Yeah,
And then that becomes really hard because then you're so focused on other people rather than your studies or the things that you want to do. And so I definitely think that was really hard in the first semester. And it really led to me at one point kind of isolating myself and being like, oh, shoot, I didn't do anything that I said that I was going to do. And now I have to really fix everything. And so at first, it sounds really nice, young adults, New York City, you want to party and have fun and be reckless and not worry about anything. But then after a while, you realize, wait, I'm a transfer student and next year is my last year in college. And there are all these things that I have to do before I graduate because, the job market and everything. So I think once that really hit me, that was the hardest thing that I had to overcome, is putting myself first before others.
interesting, interesting.
Mhm.
And would you where do you think you made the most connections so far? Like, is it through the clubs that you are a part of?
Mhm.
Is it people that you sit next to in class? Like, where is your social life coming from at the moment?
It's actually really funny because, I went to one transfer event specifically where I met basically all of my friends who everyone met each other on their own, and then somehow we all just, like, came together. I met a lot of people through that, but I also met a lot of people through clubs because I feel like that's where the most dedicated people go because again, like, I go to school in Brooklyn, everyone's in Manhattan, and so I really had to put myself out there in order to make sure that I wasn't, isolated from the rest of the campus and that I was missing out on all the amazing people that were there, and so you really have to get yourself out of bed and just go. Join that club, go to that event, because you never know who you might meet and what opportunities you might get out of that.
Nice. My wife and I
Mhm.
met at a Thanksgiving night party.
Oh.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
she always says that so it was at a friend's house, and she's like,
Mhm.
"Man, I was, like, so tired and forced myself to go to that party." She absolutely didn't
Mhm.
want to go, and she's like, "Man, had I not gone to that Thanksgiving party, I never would have met you." She's like,
Yeah,
"Why did
and
I
it was funny
go?"
because
Like,
it was funny because, some of, like, the most amazing people that I met them on the street.
really?
So I would, like, be mutuals with people on social media, and one of my really good friends, we were walking on the street and we passed by each other, and I guess he recognized me, and he turned around, and then my roommate's, like, nudging me like, "Oh, I think that person knows you," and I'm like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And it's like it's really stuff like that. You'll meet one person one day, and the next thing you know, you meet their friend, and then their friend, and then all of a sudden, you just know a lot of people, and I think what's really great about NYU is a lot of people are very eager to meet one another. It's not I wouldn't say it's competitive, like, from person to person, obviously, the opportunities are competitive, but in terms of meeting people and trying to make friends, I feel like people are always willing to meet someone new, and it's been really great experience. Everyone's very, very nice, very social.
Nice. Very cool.
Mhm.
That's
Thank you.
I found like, I spent a lot of time worrying about whether I was gonna have any friends when I got to Cal, and I remember the night before my first class, I went to a bar
Mhm.
and had a beer, and the guy who sat next to me became like a lifelong friend who I still talk to.
Mhm.
And it turns out he was like he's from Europe and he was there to go to
Mhm.
school for 2 years, and it was his first
Mhm.
night, and so we became really good friends, and then I randomly joined a club, like 2 students came into a classroom promoting a club, and the guys looked pretty cool, and I
Mhm.
was like, "Man, I should go join
Mhm.
that club," and so I joined that club and ended up becoming lifelong friends with the 2 guys
Mhm.
that came into the classroom to promote the thing. So, like,
Mhm.
all this time that I spent worrying about my social life going to school, I, like, figured it all I figured it all out literally
Yeah.
within the first
Mhm.
few days. It's kinda crazy.
Mhm. It's real Mhm. Sorry, you were saying.
No, I was just gonna end with,
Oh.
it's literally the
Mhm.
same thing that you just articulated, that everybody that I
Mhm.
was that I was meeting, they were, like, super eager to make friends as well, and so
Mhm.
it was like a really cool experience.
Mhm. Even, like, the club that I mentioned to you earlier, the one that the tech club, I did not initially plan on joining. I actually was in that room for another club, but I needed to use the bathroom, so I went downstairs, and there was, like, a mini club there that was very, like, intimate, and I just, like, randomly go up to this girl, and she was like, "Oh, like, you should join this club," and I really liked her energy. I was like, "Okay, I'll join," and I met, like, some of the most, like, amazing people from that. So I think I wouldn't worry for those, like, who are worried about transferring, I wouldn't worry too much about social life. I would worry more about getting out of bed and actually forcing yourself to go out, and even if you're going on your own, you never know who you might meet, and you never know what opportunities might come from that.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, the
Mhm.
inertia of just getting up and getting started is usually,
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
hardest.
but, like, once you're in the
Mhm.
situation, it's, yeah. Okay, well,
Mhm.
how about, like, steering the conversation
Mhm.
back to money? Not
Mhm.
that we have to, but I'm sort of curious, like,
Mhm.
how did l like, when you started well, let me back up. How does it look? Like, did you get a big financial aid check, like, at the very beginning,
Mhm,
and you've sort of been living off of that? Like, how does the money coming in look for you?
mhm. So over the summer, I worked crazy full time. I also got promoted at my job. And so I saved a bunch of money that really helped me throughout my semester. And I also had to learn how to ask for help from maybe my family members when there was like an issue with money. And so that was definitely new for me because I had always been financially independent. Um, but I think in the beginning, I was because one thing about NYU is even as a transfer, they don't give you a lot of aid. And so I had to really fight, not fight, but I had to contact my financial aid office for I think like 2 months. Um, ever since I had got in, and I am currently using federal aid to help, but a lot of it is like, a part of it is a grant, but the other is, like, obviously loans, which, is not always ideal, and I feel like that really steers people away from a lot of amazing opportunities, and again, I come from a family where education will always be the best investment that you can make, as long as you're obviously putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then how about what's been the most has there been anything that surprised you? It's like, "Man, this is really fucking expensive."
I think what really surprised me was how much people could afford all of that. Um, like I said, a lot of people, they're coming from all over the world, and um, I think for me, I'd always grown up learning that money had always been a privilege, and that you should always be grateful. And I think when you meet a lot of people who are talking about their lifestyles or where they're living or how they managed to get a studio apartment in one of the most expensive neighborhoods of New York. And it's like, I think really like hearing that, I think had always made me more grateful as to where I am. Because I do think that being able to live in New York City is such a privilege and that money doesn't always come and go or come and go and stay, whatever. Um, so yeah, that had been really shocking and, I would be like, "Oh my gosh, it's $20, that's pretty expensive," and people would be like, "Oh, that's not that bad," but I money really disappears when you live there because everything costs money, and you could close your eyes and somehow you're spending money.
Yeah.
Um, mhm.
And what's the adjustment been like? Has it been like, are you finding yourself, like, having to not do certain things with certain people because it's too expensive or
I think adjusting hasn't been so hard just because even getting out of the house and walking somewhere is kind of like an activity in its own.
nice.
There's so much to see and so many things to do. Obviously here and there I like to go and like go to concerts maybe or I just watched Stranger Things on Broadway, which definitely worth the investment. And so it really just comes and go, and obviously my school has really great opportunities where
Yeah.
they give you discounted tickets,
Yeah.
but also free events with, like, really amazing people that come to our school, and so just trying to see, like, free events and things to do has really been the game changer.
Nice. I lived by the beach in LA, and again,
Mhm,
I'll echo, like, I spent so little money when I lived close to the beach. It was really expensive, but I didn't spend any money day to day because I was like, "Man, I'm gonna go to the beach and, like, there's all the sand that you could ever want and all the water,
mhm,
it's all free." It was, like, really cool. And the other thing is,
mhm.
like, you're never like you mentioned earlier that you had to remind yourself to eat. That's definitely something I've never had to do. But so when I lived in LA, I ended up losing a lot of weight, like, consciously, I was trying to lose weight, but man, it was
Mhm,
like everything that we did in the Bay Area sort of revolved around going out and eating, but when I lived by the beach,
mhm,
it was like, man, there are so many things that you can go do that don't
mhm.
cost money and you don't have to eat, like, you could just go have fun
Yeah.
somewhere. outside. So it's exactly the way
Mhm,
you articulate. I found the same experience
mhm.
in LA.
It's been yeah, like, our school has a lot of amazing, amazing opportunities, and they'll bring, like, artists and actors and stuff like that who will come and do a free screening, so, hey, you're not paying for that subscription or you're not paying for that movie ticket because
Nice.
here's the actor who just showed it for free, and so I think taking advantage of all the opportunities is also really good. I remember I got free tickets to, I think, a Brooklyn Nets game. Um, and then I know that a lot of people were sent to, like, the Wicked premiere for free, and so it's really about, keeping an eye out and trying to find free or inexpensive opportunities, but obviously here and there, you can indulge,
Nice.
have a little bit of fun.
I like that. How about food? How about food? Has that been a big expense or anything anything unexpected in that category?
I would say I am on a meal plan, which obviously college meal plans are notorious for not being that great. I mean, for me, it does the job. It keeps me alive, and so it's all right. But in terms of like food all around New York City, I think my tip is really steering away from the places that go famous
Yeah.
on TikTok because those places are really. I remember I paid like $22 for a sandwich because it went viral on TikTok, and so I think a lot of, like, more of the mom and pops, especially a lot of people like to go to Chinatown a lot because the food is very cheap. It really just depends on where you go, but if you go to all those flashy, super expensive
Yeah.
places, not always a great idea, and it's half the time, it's not even that good, so
Nice. How about switching gears to, like, mental overload or, like, cognitive overload? Have you
Mhm.
have you gone through any of that where, like, at some point in the semester you were like, "Man, this is so overwhelming. I just need to, like, detox for a little bit." Did you have one of those moments?
Honestly, after those 30 days of La La Land is when it hit me. So my entire semester had been like that because here I am telling all my friends from back home, I'm going to NYU, like, it's so nice, like, there's so much to do and so many things to see, but really, I think internally, that kinda haunts you a little bit just because there's so much to do that you don't even know where to start. And then here I am going from my freshman year of college to my junior year of college, and everyone's like, "Oh, like, I just came back from my internship and I got an offer and blah, blah, blah." And here I am, I've never had an internship before and never really got a lot of experience directly in my field. And it really becomes this unhealthy culture of comparing yourself to everyone. Um, and I really struggled with that a lot. It led me down lots of, like, slippery slopes. "Oh, maybe I should just come back home. Maybe I should just enroll back in CSM and try again, or maybe this isn't what I wanna do," and it's just, like, really trying to tune out all of that because when you struggle a lot for the first time, you jump to conclusions and you wanna go home and be comfortable, and it's really taken a lot of toll on me, but it's also taught me that, because I'm uncomfortable, this is a good experience because I'll learn how to combat that. And so I think throughout my entire semester, I'd been struggling because I would like to say that I performed very decently at CSM. And here I am in this like very rigorous school struggling for the first time. And, I even took finance for a bit and that like just like and it's hard because, I think for you, when you teach accounting, you use a lot of like real life, maybe a bit too real life experiences. And then you go over there and it's like, okay, come to class, take the test. You won't have homework, but if you do bad on all the tests, then I'm sorry, I can't really do anything for you. And it's like, I think really learning a bit more about myself as a student has been a game changer, but also figuring out, like, what I need to prioritize over other things.
Interesting.
So, next semester will be better, don't worry.
And
Mhm.
I'm excited to see where you go as well. So let's
Thank you.
let's like maybe when it comes Like, maybe in a year when you're getting close to I know that sounds like a long time away, but it's really not. But, like, when you're getting close to graduating, do you mind coming back and, like, just giving an update and, like, what
Of
a senior
course.
year look
Mhm,
like and what the
mhm.
transition to the workforce looks like? I would love to do.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Have a good holiday. Enjoy your break.
Mhm.
Good luck next semester.
You as
And
well.
I totally
Thank
appreciate
you, thank
you,
you.
like, giving me an hour, hour and a half of your time.